everybody, Miss Barr here, and today we're going to talk about common denominators. So if you remember, denominator is the bottom number in a fraction. So for example, in 2/4, my denominator is 4, my numerator is 2. And what that means is if I had drawn a picture, my denominator tells me how many blocks in total there are in my whole. My numerator tells me how many are selected or filled in. So because my denominator is 4, there are 4 total boxes. My numerator is 2, so there are 2 filled in. Let's go ahead and get started. So common denominators talk about having common, like something they share. So denominators that they have and share, and that they share and have the same. Right now, 1/3 and 2/5 do not have the same denominator. 3 and 5 are not the same. So I have to create common denominators. And to do that, I'm going to use multiples. I'm going to skip count by my denominators to see if and when I hit numbers that match. I've always found that counting the first 10 is the best way to do this. So I'm going to skip count by 3s because my denominator is 3. I'm going to skip count by 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, and 30. And like I said, Miss Barr always counts to the first 10 because it's an easy way to make sure I get enough to typically find a connection. If I don't, I can always keep going. Now I'm going to skip count by 5s because this denominator is 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50. And once again, I counted to 10 because that's an easy one for me to know to make sure I at least will find some sort of match. So now I'm going to look and I'm going to try to find a number that is both in my 3 multiples and in my 5 multiples, something that they have in common, something that they share. So I'm going to go ahead and I see that 15 is in both of my lines. And I'm going to see that 30 is in both of my lines. If I had kept going, I'm sure I would have found more, but those are the ones that I found right now. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick one that I'm going to use to make my new common denominator. I can either use 15 or 30 because both 3 and 5 share those numbers. I'm going to choose 15 because I find that typically if I find the smallest common multiple, that typically makes me have to multiply less. It makes it easier math facts to do. So I'm going to go with 15. So I'm going to think to myself, what times 3 gets me close to 15 without going over? Well, I know that 3 times 5 is 15. And if you didn't know that, you can use the multiples that you have right here. 3 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will get me 15. And I know from doing equivalent fractions that whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So since I multiplied the bottom by 5, I have to multiply the top by 5. 1 times 5 is 5. So my new equivalent fraction is 5/13. Next, I'm going to move over to 2/5. I have to ask myself, what times 5 got me to 15? Well, I can use my multiples or I can know my math facts. 1, 2, 3. 5 times 3 gives me to 15. And I know whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do the top. So I'm going to multiply the top by 3 since I multiplied the bottom by 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So now I have my two fractions with common denominators. I have 5/15 and I have 6/15. If I wanted to, I could also compare them just to take myself an extra step. And I would know I'd rather have since my denominators are the same, it makes it really easy for me to determine which is the bigger fraction. Would I rather have $5 or $6? I'd rather have $6, so my alligator will eat 6, my bigger number. I can do that because my denominators are the same. Let's try it again. Here I have 1/2 and 3/4. To do this, I'm going to go ahead and do exactly what I did last time. I'm trying to make common denominators, but I see that 2 and 4 do not have common denominators right now. So I'm going to skip count by my denominators. My denominator is 2, so I'm going to skip count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Counting the first 10 because that makes sure I can typically get a match. Now I'm going to skip count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, and 40. Now I'm going to try to see which numbers 2 and 4 share. Well, I see that they both share 4 and 8 and 16, or 12, I'm sorry, 12 and 16 and 20. So I can choose any of these to use as my common denominator. For me, Miss Barr is going to choose the easiest one. And for me, that is 4. So I'm going to make my common denominators 4. I'm trying to make 4, but this one is already 4. So guess what? We don't have to change it. Because this will equal this denominator of 4 will equal this denominator of 4. We don't have to change it. We're basically multiplying by 1. And so he can stay the same. So we only really have to mess with this guy. So I have to figure out what times 2 will get me to 4. Well, I know that 2 times 1, 2 will get me to 4. And my rule is whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do the top. So I'm going to multiply the 2 also on the top. Because I multiplied 2 on the bottom, I have to do on the top. And I put 2/4. Now I'm able to see easily which one is larger. Because my denominators are the same, I can tell just by looking at the numerators which one is larger. Would I rather have $2 or $3? I would rather have $3, so 3/4 is the bigger fraction. I hope this helped you learn about common denominators. Good luck and keep practicing.